talk about the headphone world, like how much innovation do you really see in audio or even in headphones? I mean, you think about it like, we still got a lot of rectangular shaped boxes that hold electronics that amplify music, right?
I think 2-channel is a good example because it has what I would call cognitive inertia in a considerable amount. You see people that will continue to tell you how this is as good as it gets or can't get much better and things like that. And people perceive the sound in the very high end to be about as good as it gets. So if you're using a box to do it, you're not too worried about innovating in that sphere just because of your, we'll call it limitations of your thoughts. You think this is very, very close, so naturally you're not going to make wild changes for the most part.
Well, the other thing is
minor iterations.
It's kind of this is how it's always been done. Therefore,
right.
It kind of reminds me of, I think the same way when I see, like, you think about innovation, like there's so many industries that could use it. You think about like the home building industry. They're still nailing 2x4s together, right?
Well,
you
in North America.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Most other countries have objection to that construction method.
What are they using?
Concrete.
Yeah. So it's kind of still all right. I don't know. To us, like, to me, concrete's kind of cold and clammy. It's more commercial.
Cold and clammy.
Yeah, it's more of a commercial building than it is but I don't know, maybe because, but again, even then, I'm just thinking, look at the ways it's assembled or put together. There's not a lot of innovation in it. The insulation methods are still using woven fiberglass.
No, there isn't innovation.
Yeah.
But very same reason there. Again, it's always the inertia. It's because this is how it's been done, and we know it's proven. It's reliable. Who wants to build a house that's done in some wacky way because it'll turn into the situation that the home industry has had so many times where these pipes explode after 14 years and it's a nightmare to replace or things like that, right? Some issue comes up that you didn't expect.
Well, there is another part to that.
Yeah.
Economies of scale. Since everybody is doing it now, it's cheaper. Fiberglass is cheap because everybody uses it.
Yeah, they got huge plants.
So there's everybody's like, let's reinvent the wheel on this one. It's going to cost a lot.
Yeah, there's no money in it because it works. Everybody's using it. It's proven. And you could always add more insulation if you want.
Well, and you got a big company like Dow Corning that's pretty much got the market cornered.
Right.
So, I guess
it's tough to come in and say, we have a product that's better in every way. Oh, but it costs 10 times more.
Well, those do exist, though. But
they do, but they don't really sell, right?
It's like those jean insulation companies. Like recycled jeans.
Nice.
But they're way more expensive.
Yeah, and that's a tough call. Like, I'm not sure if I'd want cotton in my wall. It just sounds like it's supposed to be flame-proof, but it just doesn't sound like a good idea. You know what I mean? It just doesn't.
I think what they mean by that is the flame is arrested in a short
period.
period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think anything that gets hot enough will burn.
It'll burn.
Well, see, I guess it is kind of. It's not really innovative, but it solves the one problem with fiberglass insulation: itchiness.
Yeah,
but that's only the one time when you put it in. Right?
Yeah, and you're probably not putting it in anyways. Yeah. Until you are, then it's terrible.
And of course, now you can get pretty bad foam blown in, but that's significantly more expensive.
So headphones. We should probably get back to headphones.
Sure,
yeah.
But you know what? You brought up a point before about
subscribe to the Build Show.
The Build Show?
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's fear. It's fear on both sides. It's the fear of not knowing if you're going to be able to sell it, and then on the other end, the fear of the consumer as to whether they decide to want to spend the money on it. And I think that's what stifles innovation.
Well, yeah.
I think that's a very big factor, and the consumer probably doesn't pay much attention to these things because it's not relevant to them. But to the manufacturer, worrying about whether or not somebody wants your product, it's a substantial issue. It's a constant worry. People don't understand, but most businesses, even successful ones, a lot of people in that business are probably terrified every time they release a new product. Every time they do something, they're wondering, how is this going to be perceived? Will people like this product? Will they buy it? What if we raise the price? What if we lower the price? What if we do this or that? How is it going to affect us as a brand in the future?
It's insecurity. I mean, every new product as a manufacturer, you're insecure about. You never know.
Yep.
You never know. So, I mean, the best you could do is do the best you can, right? And then,
well, there is a perfect example. Automotive industry. Your high volume, your Camrys, your Accords, your Civics, they don't change very much on purpose because they can't afford to have people not buy it. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's like we keep making the same.
If a model flops, that's a year without sales.
But it's a little more complicated than that yet, because some people could say, well, that's fine. You continue making the legacy product, but also make this other product in addition that's this innovative, interesting thing and see if it works. You could do that.
Sure.
You could, but it's still complicated. You see all kinds of markets where this is true. Just because a company sells a different thing that they consider to be innovative, it may actually decrease overall sales. They may lose sales because people say, oh, I don't want to support that company. I don't want to buy from a company that's doing something that stupid or that looks like that or that does that. Just by having a product that people disagree with that could be vastly superior in every way, it may actually negatively impact your sales. So it's actually fickle.
And chances are that'll happen. That would occur because you start to focus your advertising and marketing on that new product to try to get it going.
Right.
And so therefore you're obviously ignoring marketing on your legacy product. So yeah, you could. Then the other thing too is that your new product might be attracted by a whole different base of customers that aren't currently in your wheelhouse. Or, you're attracting a different group of consumers that would normally not be even looking for that, in your brand. They're looking at it in another brand. So,
I would say it's basically like Apple selling a $200 laptop. It's kind of sort of the same thing, right?
Right.
If they came out and they had a $200 laptop, well, now it kind of devalues their other ones because people are used to them selling high-end expensive laptops. They could sell one that's competitive in that price range for $200.
Well, price is different.
It's still going to be junk
Price
compared
is
to the high-end stuff.
Price is never an innovator. High prices can be, but low prices are.
Right.
I mean, I guess you
Well,
could.
it's not innovative.
But it's the same concept.
Yeah, you could innovate and make something cheaper. I guess you could call that innovation.
Yeah,
Well, it's a
you would have to
form.
like physically develop.
You develop
means
a
of
way to
making
make
it
something
cheaper,
that's
yeah.
way, way, way cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be innovation, and that it would basically wipe out everyone else who's making it.
Well, yeah.
Particularly if you have a patent on that method. But yeah, and that that could be an industry destroying innovation too. You see that a lot. All of a sudden, what was an expensive process is now
It's cheap now,
gone. Yeah, and so everyone who's run it is gone too.
It happens,
Got a
but
good
it's
example
uncommon.
of that one too. Aluminium.
Yeah,
Yeah, used to be really expensive, and then someone found out a cheaper way to make it. And
Yeah.
Now we use it for cans and everything.
Everything.
Yeah, because the top of the Washington Monument is capped with a big chunk of aluminum.
yeah.
Because at the time it was like super valuable.
How about that?
Yeah, it showed like the power
Power.
and wealth or whatever that we could have so much aluminum and you can't.
They should gold anodize it now.
Well, see,
Apparently, it was cheaper to make it in gold then.
Yeah, Jesus.
But
Now that'd be something.
doesn't look as
Someone
cool.
would have stole it though if they made it in gold.
well, it's pretty hard to
Yeah.
steal, but
Yeah.
yeah.
probably
Yeah.
get your chisel out.
Yeah, right. Just take a little chunk out of it.
We didn't really answer the question though.
No.
No.
Classic. So that more or less gives our impressions of some of the reasons why innovation is stifled in industries. But what innovation is left in high-end audio, headphones, and whatnot? What could use innovation?
Well, first of all, you got to think outside the box.
Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of hard.
Literally.
You're just guessing at this point,
Yeah. So, like we did with the 1266 with our first headphone, it's like we weren't copying or looking at anything that was being
That
currently
is
being done. We were
quite apparent.
we were totally after how can we make the best sound possible, right? And to mimic a big 2-channel system, which I don't think anyone's ever made that as a goal in a headphone. If they did, they haven't met it, until we came out with that headphone. So, I mean, things like we have our foamed aluminum disc here, right? It's aluminum foam. Nobody was using stuff like that because it's crazy expensive. It's really adapted more for very special industrial projects. It's not used in consumer. But anyway, crazy stuff like that is what we'd be willing to try to reach our goal.
Well, it's a classic mother of all invention, is necessity, You need a need. So you can't just innovate, just sit down. I'm going to innovate today,
Yeah, and I think
a goal.
I think every step of the way was an innovation because we've never did it before. So we never made a planar driver before. We never had to have magnets customized for that. We never did any of this. So to us, we were innovating every step of the way. It wasn't one innovation. People see it or perceive it as an innovation with that. So let's say with that particular headphone, or whatever, a speaker. Right? You perceive it as a whole, but for us, it was a massive subset of innovations that came to the one product.
I always think it's interesting how the consumer perceives products and the marketing and stuff. Because you frequently see new products come out and they're advertising something that every other headphone for 100 years has had. But they're advertising it in a way that's unique to make it look like it's special. They're basically showing you a feature that everything else has and telling you, look how special we are because we have this thing that you didn't even know you wanted, but now you need. And consumers eat it up a lot of times. If they market it right, consumers think, wow, such innovation. I think that's a little funny.
It's classic marketing.
Right? Sometimes it really works. So it's a little strange, but it depends very much on your perspective, what innovation truly is. Personally, I do kind of sort of sit down and think, wow, I'm going to innovate today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you need a goal is the thing.
It's helpful, yeah.
Yeah, you can't just be like generally innovate.
I think the more you do it, though. I mean, with some people, I don't think anyone. But if it's in you, I think the more you do it, the better you get at it. You know, because you start the possibilities just seem to be, they're no longer insurmountable. They're like, well, we'll figure this out no matter what. We'll find a material. We'll find somebody who can make this material or this way or this methodology or, you know, or we wait for it. Say, okay, we know what we want, but currently we can't find it. So let's put that on the back burner, do it a different way, and then we'll wait for it. We know what we want. And I've seen that, you see that with everything, right? You see it with the batteries they're making now for electric cars, right? Where the innovation going on there, which is just crazy, right? And I see it in a lot of industries where you see a lot of thinking outside the box.
But that's the thing. There needs to be a need for it, though. Usually, you know.
The need, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, usually it's cost, but
Yeah.
what you see most now is people with, I would say, a very, very in-depth understanding of the mechanics and the operation, the chemistry, the physics, or whatever behind the thing they're trying to accomplish. And they know something is technically possible, but currently not achievable. What they do is they seek a way to achieve it. And inevitably, everyone will tell you, well, it's not possible. You can't do it that way because of all these issues. But after you've done enough things that people said isn't possible, it's very understandable how you could ignore those and push ahead in spite of the issues and find a way to mitigate the problems you're having. It's just sometimes it just takes so much time and money that it's not practical. And I think for high-end headphones, it's a bit of that, because if you want to do truly insane innovation that anyone would look at, even people that are super deep in the field would look at and go, wow, that's crazy. That's very, very expensive, typically. It either takes some absolute genius, and I don't know where you would get the inspiration, but somehow you manage to figure out some sort of thing that's just amazing in every way. Or it takes a huge amount of money, figuring out how to do something that's never been done before and nobody thought could work.
I mean, you see that too with a lot of things, like, people, these people, colleges, students of, industry works with colleges. We're talking about it, doing research, and they stumble on something that does something, right? But and they patent it and all that good stuff, and then so the next step is, all right, well, who wants to use this? Who wants to try to figure out how to make this into a product? Yeah. And that's pretty much where it almost always ends. You've got this great innovation in a material science or whatever, or methodology, or, turning water into gasoline, right? Okay, so we made a couple molecules of this. Now, how do we make it into 1 million gallons a day, right? It doesn't happen. All of a sudden, it's just stifled right there, because the cost is just unbelievably astronomical, and no one's willing to invest in it, in something like that. So, money is a big driving factor, and the lack of it in innovation getting off the ground, even if it is a miracle,
Well, there's a lot of things that go like, all right, we developed this thing, but it has no practical use.
Yeah.
And things get shelved, but sometimes people figure like 10 years later, like, oh, this guy already did exactly what we were looking for, That happens too. But
remember that one headphone we painted with the blackest black paint in the world?
Yeah.
I think we did a video on that.
Yeah.
But the paint, we painted it, and then you just take your fingernail and it just comes right
You
off.
touch it and it comes off. Yeah,
You can't even
damages
breathe
the
around it.
finish.
I'm thinking to myself, who the hell
It's
thinks this is a
useless.
good
Yeah.
idea? Yeah, what do you use this for?
There's
Well,
no
you
practical
can't even
application,
breathe
really.
on it,
I mean, I'm sure it has applications.
But yet they're calling it paint. but it has absolutely no adhesive property whatsoever. doesn't hold itself together. It's like sprinkling the darkest of black powder on a surface and
Yeah.
just don't move. So it's crazy when you think about it, So it's like, but obviously they probably sold enough of that as a novelty
Yeah.
to crazy people like us just to try that it still was worthwhile to make.
Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
doable, but not practical.
But commercially,
There's things
it's,
like that. Yeah.
it's not a big
It's useless.
success,
Yeah.
right? You're not painting cars in it.
Yeah.
It rains and the paint's destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
touch
useless.
it, it's screwed.
It's like sprinkling black baby powder on something.
Right. Yeah, it's really dark, but you can't even touch it.
So there you go. I mean, there you have it. There's innovation that they found a way around it and sold
Right.
it just by calling it it's the blackest material in the world, but it's useless in any
Everyday
practical
life.
application. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the reality, though. That's how most things work. Somebody somewhere in research somewhere determines that there's something you could do that makes a thing way better than it was before. But there's no practical application yet because it has huge challenges that need to be overcome, and it's very, very expensive. Almost always, it's very, very expensive. So nobody uses it because, well, it costs 10 to 100 times more than the competitive products, and it's only a little bit better. So who's going to pay for it? That's always the issue in these things. You see this in the battery industry so much. You always hear about, and solar too, right? All these emerging technologies. You see there's so much push to finding a better battery, better solar panel, or whatever. And a new article comes out, wow, there's this new solar cell that's 58% efficient or 92% efficient or some crazy number, right? But they don't tell you the way to manufacture it is insanely hyper complex, and it could never be manufactured without absurd innovation because it would just be 100,000 times the cost of current stuff. So it doesn't make any sense for all but extraordinary circumstances.
I think we covered enough on innovation. Obviously, there's a lot of barriers to entry.
It's like academic, innovation.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like on paper, this is.
It's cool, but it doesn't really work. Making it work is the hard part most of
Right.
the time.
Right. That's real innovation.
Mm.
When you
Yeah,
actually get a
shipping
real product.
units.
Yeah, real
Yeah.
products.
Can you get 100,000 of these out the door? Can they all work? Are they durable? Do they last?
Yeah.
That's innovation. Then you know it actually works. It's a
And
real product.
And a lot of that does come from dreaming at first, or imagining something you'd want to have
Yeah, but you need a goal. Yeah.
and go out and make it.
It's interesting how that always works, though, because you see people that continue to tell you things aren't possible. There's no way that could work. And then 20, 50 years later, it's so incredibly common. Like we saw this with semiconductors or etched silicon wafers, right? Microchips and things of that nature. And they're insanely complicated. Way more complicated
It's way
than people
easier
think.
to say that you can't do it than it is to do it.
Right. But it's being done.
It's a million times easier.
Absurdly large scale, and it's very, very cheap
Yeah.
compared to what you would think. Insane complexity in manufacturing, but it's being done. So if there's a need, you can figure it out, but the money and the time required is crazy. And so in headphones, I don't know if people have billions of dollars to throw at a problem that everyone says is insolvable.
Well, you need to know what problem you want to solve first.
Well, that helps. Yeah.
Well, since winter's here in New York, and so far we haven't had any snow, but it'd be nice if someone made an automatic snowblower that just goes out and clears the
Automatic
driveway for
snowblower.
you.
Yeah, they have the
It's
lawn
not really
mowers.
innovation,
No.
though.
Robotic cleaners.
You could do it.
for the driveway.
But yeah, nobody
You could
does make that.
technically do it.
Yeah. I mean, with the GPS and all that.
Well, I guess you would just put a heated concrete in or something.
Yeah.
That would be easier.
Yeah, I guess that'd be expensive. That takes a lot of gas.
Automated snowblower.
Automated snowblower.
A little
Yeah, I thought about
dangerous.
that.
Yeah, it is kind of
Yeah.
dangerous.
It'd be tough.
But you could probably solve that problem too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
But you
make
would
it-
need to know the
make it choose
weight,
snow
the
a different
density
way.
of the
Mhm.
snow and stuff like that, so you could understand its travel speed, or have to be able to measure the load and stuff like that, because you're adjusting the speed, the feed, the shoot
Of course, it
location.
runs on battery.
Then some kid runs by
Electric.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's the thing. It's
Yeah.
in bad conditions too. It's cold.
Yeah, the kid run by. It's got to see. It's got to have
It's got to
vision.
not crash into the kid.
Yeah. Well, the cars have that cheap vision.
What if there's like a
stuff on
shoe in the snow?
it. Yeah. Well.
Now
yeah.
what? It chews up the shoe?
Well,
Do you
could
make
prob-
it so it just eats anything?
Yeah, well,
would you know? If
yeah,
there was
that's
a
the
shoe in
thing.
the
People,
snow?
No.
people chew them up.
So there you go.
I'm a person. I can see,
Chew
I
the
hit a
shoe.
shoe, and I could rip the shoe out, replace the shear bolt,
Yeah.
and get back to
That
going.
is an issue.
This can't do that.
Yeah, that is an
We
issue.
need some sort of
Or
clutch mechanism, which
doormats.
I guess
yeah,
Honda
that's
did that.
the other one. Yeah.
Doormats.
Yeah,
Oh,
doormats,
those
yeah,
are a
yeah.
big landmine.
Maybe just create a whole new way of getting rid of the snow.
Yeah. There you go.
The hell with the spinning propeller.
Yeah, I guess
blade
that's old school thinking.
exactly. See,
Making
that-
a better horse or whatever
Yeah.
the hell.
You ever
what's
suck up
that?
a doormat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did like 2 or 3.
Well, we did here actually.
Yeah.
It's still isn't it still sucked up?
No,
Oh,
it's
you got it
Still
out.
sucks.
fixed.
Yeah. Well, it's like well.
Leave that one for later.
Yeah, I bet that stopped it from spinning for a little while.
did.
Yeah, it did.
That was some heavy rubber.
You know?
Yeah.
Mhm. They sneak up on you, those
Yeah.
doormats.
Well,
Yeah.
Luckily, the engine stalls and it's game over.
They
it
do.
broke the pin.
Oh, even better.
They are designed for that.
Yeah. Well,
To
Yeah,
protect
to fail.
themselves. Yeah.
to fail on impact.
Yes.
Anyway, we've had enough. I think people have probably had enough of us listening about things.
Oh,
like
yeah.
this.
Well,
Innovation.
Yeah. Well, this could. I mean,
Innovation.
if we're on snowblowers, this is going forever.
Oh.
Yeah. We've been going for a while. Here.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Yeah.
Let's-
We should
let's
do a
keep
whole
going.
snowblower
yeah,
episode.
why?
Track drive.
No, I
and-
was looking at stainless steel hot water tanks. That's
Yeah.
pretty. That's like
Mm.
the new hotness.
Jesus.
Innovation, yeah.
Yeah.
Stainless steel heat pump water heaters.
Yes.
That's the way to go.
Mhm.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Then they can heat your driveway with it too.
Ground source heat pump.
Yeah. That would
Stainless
work
steel
for
tank.
melting snow on your driveway.
Yeah.
It would. It's
That'd
kind of
be
expensive,
kinda-
but
Yeah.
you
It's
can
an
do it.
expensive way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then the latest gen HVAC systems for home, that ground.
If you do an air source, but the problem is with the ground source, you need a huge ground loop to be able to dump the energy.
right,
Mm-hmm.
And so for your driveway,
That's a lot
you
of-
got
Yeah,
like a
that-
bazillion BTUs you need to dump into
that's
it.
a lot of pipes.
It's like
It's
heating the
expensive.
outside.
You got to dig a
that's
lot of
true.
holes.
Yeah, you're basically making a network all the way around your house just to heat the warm
What
the
you need is a
driveway.
lake nearby.
Ooh,
That's
yeah,
fresh
yeah, yeah.
water.
Big one. A lot of volume.
Then you're good. You got a lot of
It would
capacity.
still get cold though, so I guess that wouldn't work.
Still works as long as you can dump energy in it.
Maybe
It's
an
not
underground
frozen.
aquifer,
Oh well, that's kind of hard.
artesian well. I don't think you get enough volume out of those. Okay, we
there
gotta
are some
go.
really big ones, but
We gotta go. Thank you everybody for watching. Thumbs us up. Take care.